let's chat. So this has been seriously it's one of those times when, I don't know, the last week and a half you may have noticed that my filming schedule wasn't exactly on point, and at first I tried to fight it a lot, and then eventually I was just like, you know what, no, I'm upset, I'm sad right now, and I'm finally coming out of it. And so I figured I'd just have a little chit chat cup of coffee here and talk about it. So last week, let's see, I had a bunch of migraines. I barely left my apartment, and basically if you could see my apartment right now, it is in utter chaos. Like, there's just a lot of things that need to get done, should be done, and I just don't feel like doing any of them. And I realized that sometimes when you're sad, you get to just be sad, but also sometimes analyzing and then comparing the sadness to other times when you were is a good idea. Sometimes I don't know, I particularly am very like weird about, I don't want to be upset all the time. And then comparison seems to always be that one of the things that really leads to being upset. But honestly, sometimes comparison helps get me out of it. So like a lot of times when I like remember that, oh, I have been sad before and I've gotten out of it. So like, what did I do then comparing to what I'm doing now? Or I worry about other weird things that just don't need to be worried about as much, you know, that type of deal. So first things first that I did is I checked in with what time is it, including within like my menstrual cycle, along with like what are the planets doing, along with what am I life-wise, and there's like a couple things that I brought up. One of those is that Mercury went from out of retrograde to direct, and I think this is a little bit of the out, like the last bits of it are kind of hitting me a little delayed ish, because during the actual retrograde I wasn't feeling too much of anything, but my I don't know, communication, certain things, anxieties, overthinking, like a lot of this kind of got crazy. So I think that transition kind of came about with that. Two, what is interesting about it is that I have been in a lot of ways not analyzing necessarily what is smart or good for me within my new confines, if that makes any sense. Like, there were certain things I thought were a given in my previousness, which are not now, because new environment, new things to think about, to differentiate between, I guess. On top of that, there is also the fact that I had to remind myself, you are now officially in month 2, which I've talked about it before on my channel, but I read in a book once that when you ever make a big change, part 1 is all of the good, part 2 is the bad has been like you hyper fixate on it, and then part 3 of that time, like month 1, month 2, month 3, is a little more like evened out between the two. You don't worry, doesn't feel like a totally new fun thing, it doesn't feel like the most worst thing in the world, it's actually like what the rest of your life would be like with the major change. And that has been, maybe it's not applicable to everybody, but to me that is, I need a 3-month adjustment period to finesse everything. And I'm in officially month 2 of living here in Portland full time, and there are definitely some things that I've noticed where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, definitely the negatives are hyper becoming aware. So I made a little bit of a list. I am way more isolated here, which is funny because I moved here half the time for the connection, but I didn't realize it within my day-to-day. And I realized because I went from living by myself to living with my parents, and on top of that I used to go into the office every single day. And even if I didn't feel extremely close with my coworkers or extremely close with other people, I was interacting with people on a regular basis, and some of those connections are like my parents, who I do have a deep connection with, like, right? Like, and so a lot of earlier was me just feeling like, oh, I can do whatever I want, I can eat whatever food I want, I can stay up as late as I want without having to worry about, like, is the light waking them up, am I playing music too loud, or like there's some like neighbory stuff just like being in an apartment building, but like overall it's not that much to stress about. Whereas now it is just me and my cats, And since I work from home, there aren't that many people that I interact with or even talk to. And there was like a span sometime, not last week, but the week before, I literally did not leave my apartment, I realized, for 5 days. And I finally, like about day 3 of that, I was like, okay, you at least need to walk, like go on a walk somewhere. And I went outside and I went on a walk, but I didn't go into any shops, and I didn't like talk to any of the strangers I saw on the street. Like it was, so literally there was a day where I didn't actually talk to other people for 5 days. And that's very isolating. Not so good for me. I love my alone time. I'm definitely one of the people that needs the alone time. But that also means I also need to talk to other people, and I'm craving that a lot more. So I've definitely been trying to focus more on, specifically during the week, to making friendships and getting out and talking to people, taking a class, doing something that gets me out, is actually interacting, because I think that lack of any social interaction was definitely wearing on me. And I feel a little bit recovered now as it's the start of the next week, and I had a bunch of good times with some friends of mine that I've met here, so it worked out well, but still, it's interesting. Also, I have to, in some ways, just kind of accept a bit of what life is here. And by that I mean building a foundation. I know you shouldn't do this, and like there's a lot of things that I think got resolved very quickly, and so I think when I realized there was stuff that didn't get resolved quickly, that I fixated on those problems that didn't get resolved. Like when I was living back in Arizona, I didn't like the weather. I didn't feel like I had any good friendships. I feel like everyone I talked to was just not the same vibe as me. Like even attempting to connect didn't really get me anywhere. I felt very much out of my element in terms of the people around. Like I didn't have much common with like almost anybody, I guess. And it was just a lack of inspiration, a lack of connection, a lack of privacy from living with my parents, a lack of drive, I guess, or even a desire to like go and find those things. It was a lot of just like me being a blob. And in some respects that helped a lot with like finances and stuff, but overall it was bad. So upon moving to Portland, it was like I'm immediately inspired by my environment. I'm immediately loving the fact that I have privacy again in my own apartment and control over my space. That sense of control is nice. The sense of independence is nice. But there are certain things where it's like noises from other people in other buildings or other apartments. The walls are really thin. It's an old building. And not having a solid routine and not interacting with people all the time. Like there's just small little things that I thought they won't be that big of a deal. I don't even have to worry about them. And I'm realizing, no, maybe you do have to worry about these things. Maybe you do have to address them because they become more of an issue for you and they're building up. And it's not just going to be a moving across the country, fix all your problems. There's new problems now and they have to be dealt with. Which seems like so basic and like understanding, like of course there would be, but like you live life and you do stupid things. Like think it's all going to solve your problems. It solved a lot of my problems, didn't solve all of them. The other thing that kind of happened, which sucks, is that I have been pushing myself to go dating. I haven't been on a solidly good date, or any date for that matter, before I moved out here for like over a year and a half. And before that I was kind of dating on and off, but it was very sparse and in between. A lot of it was just like dating life, love life didn't exist. I haven't been in any sort of serious and or committed relationship in years. And so that it's interesting coming back here now and dating people again. And I think part of myself was putting way too much pressure to get results, I guess, from dating, as in like, oh, I'm gonna find that great connection finally. And instead I realized that I've probably reached a point in my life where I really know what I want, if that makes sense. Like I have really narrowed down to go like, no, I want you to be driven and I want certain like passions or drives that you after. I want you to have a fair amount of hobbies that you enjoy. Like there's like certain checkpoints for a partner that I have and they are non-negotiables, and there's more of those now. And sometimes talking to someone and as I'm like going on different dates, I'm suddenly realizing like, almost there, but you're missing that one. And then I go on date with another guy, I'm like, you're almost there, but now you're missing this one. And it's been like just near misses, and therefore I haven't felt that strong of a connection. And it takes me a while to even like figure that out, right? Like I'll go on these dates with these people for 2-3 hours. Like we're there, we're chatting for a while. It's not just like a 20-30 minute coffee and go. Like I'm sitting there and talking to you. I want to get to know you. I want to make sure if I'm not feeling anything, if there's no spark, no curiosity about you, is it just because we are both nervous, or is it because there's something else here? And it's just been a lot of things where I'm just like, I'm sorry, no, 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 no. And it's kind of draining a little bit to realize that like it's all no's for my picking's sake. Like before it was like, I'd go on a random date with somebody and be awful, like awful. Like, wow, you are a rude individual. You're that person they write blogs about. And instead it's no, it's nothing awful. It's just, sorry, just don't feel the connection, or we just don't match up, or we just don't have too much in common, or we're just at different points in our lives right now, and so we're just probably not going to work out long term. And I can like assess that very quickly. And maybe it's just because at this point now I have been on a bunch of dates and I do know what I want being in my mid to later 20s. Like it makes sense, right? But it's been very interesting, I guess. And I think part of it has been it's harder to just enjoy the experience of dating when, yeah, they're enjoyable experiences, but they're not necessarily, like I'm not feeling that deep connection with people. And I really miss that deep romantic connection. It's been such a long time since I've had that. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to experiencing again. So I would like that to be a result of going on these dates and meeting these people and speaking with them and hoping for a good time type of deal. So that's been another thing. And also, what I think is kind of making me a bit sad and stuff is realizing that I've had a whole bunch of goals back in Arizona, and a lot of them have been met and complete. It's amazing how many certain things I've like checked off my list. I was actually looking at my vision board that's on the back of my phone that I made with y'all, and I've gotten like a lot of these. Like it's funny how like my apartment's all together. I've been to several of these parks in Portland, things like that. But there's other parts where I haven't quite got them yet, and I think I want them to be more of a focus, or my focuses have changed a bit, and a lot of my goals I think have changed. So I'm gonna have to abandon maybe a couple of projects, and that kind of terrifies me because I hate not finishing things. But it's for the better if they don't make me happy and if they don't bring me inspiration at all. So like, just like letting myself feel a little guilty over that, and then like moving on and going to doing the projects that actually give me drive in life is probably a good idea. But anyway, yeah, this is kind of how I've been feeling. A little sad, a little mulled, a little refocusing. Hopefully I'll get back into the creative spirits when videos will go back to actually going up on time. And comment down below. What do you do when you feel sad? What makes you feel sad? What makes you kind of dredge you down, and then overall you're just like, oh no, not this stuff again. Anyway, I make new videos every single week, and podcasts too, sometimes apparently. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.